where it's carved. And you can see what it looks like when it's carved, because this is just a tall, what's called a skinny tall hat Santa. So you've got a hat, you've got a beard, no eyes, just the nose and the beard. And the beard comes down to the bottom, and then there's a robe that has a tuft around here, and it's just like everything's covered, and he's wrapped in a robe blanket. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the question I have is, what is the purpose of this video? Is it to show?
So our discussions were based upon the premise that if we don't do something, and especially if COVID doesn't go away in the next 6 months, if we don't do something, we may end up losing everybody in the club. They'll find something else to do. So the idea was behind this was to start using Zoom to have meetings so that we can at least catch up with each other and maintain that family collegial attitude. Second, we can conduct business through Zoom, and we can do the free ones all we want. They're 40 minutes each, but you can turn right around and sign back in after the 40-minute meeting ends.
Right.
And then to have classes like we normally do. So if we, like Larry set it up with a 40-minute meeting for information about meeting places and the IAW, and then 40 minutes for show and tell and talking about with each other, and then 40 minutes of a class. So this class here, probably we plan on recording it. So it's probably not going to be one in which everybody can follow along. If you remember at our meetings when we do a class, you always have a few people that slow it down because they need extra help, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just means that in a timely fashion, if you wanted to say, I only have an hour on this, you need to build in at least 50% more of that time, simply because there's some people that don't carve as fast, or it's a social thing for them, so they're not trying to carve fast. So the 40-minute carving meeting will be recorded so that we can then put it on our Idaho Woodcarvers Guild YouTube channel. So we've got a YouTube channel with a couple of videos on there that I've made of, I just noticed my camera's a little bit crooked, that I made of the IAW show. And so the idea was whatever original content we can come up with to put on our channel, that would be a way of keeping the club members engaged some way. Maybe they're engaged totally digitally and virtually, and we don't see them face to face. But this was an idea to, we do this class, then Larry does one on how to paint this, and Doug does one, even if it's just a presentation of, well, this is how I set out and lay out my birds, or this is how I carve the feathers, or whatever. The idea was to engage the club members back again, even if we have to do virtually, so that everybody has a place to come to on Thursday. I get it. Not many people want to come from 5 to 7 to woodcraft, and now they're shoving us in the back, so it makes it a little more difficult for us to have that public view and to have a time to come together as friends. So shoved in the back with all the freight that's in there, and they have to move the freight, so you lose 5 or 10 or 15 minutes of the meeting, makes it difficult. So this was just a conversation between me and Doug and Larry, and I'm not sure who else was in on the conversation, to just do this and get it going, so that who knows how long COVID's going to be. If we wait until we find out that it's going to last another 2 or 3 years, we may have lost some people. So doing it now. Go ahead.
Well, okay. My question was,
You're laughing at me.
Well, if it lasts 2 or 3 years, some of us are probably going to be pushing up daisies.
Maybe. So unfortunately, that's true.
No. The nature of my question was, in the Santa that you had, that you were carving, was it your intent that we would follow along with you with our knives and carve it, or was the intent you're demonstrating it, then you're going to record it, and then we can look at it at our leisure? And I think you answered it. The answer was, I'm going to show you how to do this, and I'm going to put it up on the club website, and when you feel in the mood to carve, you can call up the club website and carve it yourself, right?
Right.
Okay.
So the other idea was, if you feel like,
let me just say this then. When you do this as a carving class, with the club present, it needs to be very clear then that you don't have time to help me while I'm when I have a problem. It's a question of okay, I'm going to show you how to do it, but we don't have time on the video to say, oh, Larry's got a question, Steve's got a question, let me go over here, let me go over here. You know, like you do the normal walk around sort of thing.
Right, right, tutorial kind of thing.
Yeah, somehow you have to lay that out to the audience.
Right.
Because otherwise it's going to be incessant. Oh, wait a minute, back up 2 steps. Let me see how you do that again.
So when I do YouTube videos, I explain along the way what I'm doing at every step. Every time I do something, I'm explaining that. You're right. What I don't have is stopping and going back 3 steps and redoing that. Right. Now I may have 3 or 4 here in various different stages, and I can go back and say, well, here at this step, then this is what we're going to do. But it might behoove some people to write things down. But you're right. I'm not anybody doing this, unless we stretch this out for an entire month, nobody doing this is going to be able to answer every question, carve the project, and get it going along the way. So it may be that future projects end up, instead of just the one meeting, this will be our normal club meeting the second Thursday. In the future, it may be that we start a project, and it's going to take 4 Zoom meetings, whether they're 40 minutes or the paid version. And that way everybody can follow along at each, just like we're going to do a class at Woodcraft, and then next month we'll continue that, and we'll continue that until we're done with it. This may be one of those things where, yes, this is a simple project and easily done by most club members, but the other thing is that we may have to just say, like you said, we're going to do it just as a class, and then it's recorded so you can follow along at your leisure. This is so we can see each other and ask questions and whatever.
Zoom just updated our 40 minutes on their own, just to let you know.
Thank you.
There were 2 things. I was looking at some of your videos today, and there were 2 things that I saw that I took note of. One was, I think it's on the eye video where you're showing how to carve eyes. There was something going on at your house, and I could hear it in the background. You know, I don't know if it was dishes or
Right.
Ma was talking, but you could hear something was going on. All right. Yeah. The other thing, though, that I thought was real positive, after you had carved like 3 or 4 demonstration eyes, like the last one, I think, or the next to the last one, you took your pencil and you shaded in the part that you were going to remove.
Yeah.
Okay. Prior to that, you just said, well, you know, we're going to make it deep in the corner, and we're going to make it light around the arc of the eye, and then we're going to make it deep in the other corner. But when you shade it in, it really jumps off the screen at you as to what it is what part you're going to attack. Because once again, in a 2-dimensional presentation like this, you don't have enough shadow.
Right.
To show you where there's a depression and where there's, you know, a high spot. Anyway.
Especially with the lighting issues we have, you're right. I can get it. You see my hand really, really light, and you see my forehead darker, and they're only about 3 inches apart from each other, but we're sitting right here next to the light. So lighting is always an issue, and I wasn't willing to spend another $150 for one of those tripods with a halo camera, and you put your camera or halo light, and you put your camera in the middle, because it's not geared for webcams, it's geared for phones.
Okay.
So I have not found one of those that has that where it's shining right at me. So, well, we're working on it.
The lighting now that's coming from your right side, okay, it's so bright that you have more of a blob hand than a finger hand.
Right. We'll move that away a little bit.
Okay, I'm just wondering what would happen if you went to incandescent instead of fluorescent or LED?
Well, this one is incandescent over here. It's the yellow light. And then this one over here is the white light.
What's the incandescent shining on?
It's shining straight at me, or shining straight down on the table, just to the upper left of the space.
Yeah, we set it up for the carving, not for his face.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I figured there'd be limited interactions between the camera and me, or the people and me. Most of the interaction is going to be right here in the carving part. Now, Tekla is got the laptop set up, and she can hit a couple buttons and it'll switch screens, as you've seen her do that. It'll switch easily. So we can work on lighting. Lighting is just something that just takes time, and it depends on the time of the day. In terms of sound, when I'm usually in here videotaping, I usually have my you all have been in here. I usually have my carving room door shut with a sign out there that says video recording, don't bother, keep the noise down. Sometimes that works, but with your roommate, sometimes you don't know who's going to be making noise. Who's up and moving around getting a Coke or something. So
Yeah.
how's the audio from here? Can you hear clearly what I'm saying?
I can.
Eric's talking with his teacher voice. That's my question. Does he need to continue with his teacher voice, or is he too loud? Larry, Jim?
I think he's fine.
I'm happy with what's going on. I really am. There's only one question that I have that I want to talk to everybody about, and that is there are currently on the side of I have the speaker view. You know, I pinned so that you're in the big picture. But what happens if we have 15 people? Are they all going to show up on the screen, or what happens with that?
So usually what happens, the main people show up all on the top of your screen, depending on what program you're using. If you're using Chrome or Edge or whatever. And then some of the people will end up at the bottom of your screen as well. I know when I'm at school, I've got mine set up to where I'm a little screen way down here in the bottom. And then everybody else is on the page, but depending on whether what view you choose, we use Teams, and it has normal view shows 4 kids, and then the rest of them are down the bottom, and it will show 9 names, and then the last circle says plus 15 or 20 more, however is in there. I can hit a button and it shows gallery view, which means I can show everybody, and it looks like they're sitting in a stadium seat, but there's very little interaction, and that is a streaming kind of thing where everybody's camera's on. That assumes everybody's camera's on. I would imagine in this one, there's a lot of people that will sign in with audio, and you can see that in your toolbar, you can click off the video where your video is not showing.
So if you go to the upper left corner, it says view, and you can change from speaker view, which would be just Eric or whoever, if you have him pinned, or else it'll be whoever's making noise at the time. Or you can have gallery view, which will have everybody that's on the call with the same size screen. And it just has a green bar around the monitor, around the picture who's talking. So if you've got 15 people, then you've got, the pictures just keep getting smaller and smaller.
But does Eric remain?
As the pictures keep getting smaller and smaller, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm just saying that that's what happens.
But does Eric remain the center part of the screen? That's the real question.
No, if you change it to gallery, no.
Okay, now, Tekla, you're talking about all these wonderful things we ought to be able to see. I don't see squat.
What does your screen show?
Okay.
As far as controls.
All right. As far as control, if I go to my picture, my view of myself, my choices are mute, stop video, rename, replace pin, hide self view. That's it.
Is that up in the upper left-hand corner?
Well, mine's in the upper right-hand corner, Tekla.
Oh,
Steve,
okay.
there's a little box up there that says view. Not on your picture, on the screen.
On the screen. All right, on the screen.
Mine's top right.
Oh, there's view. All right, okay. It
I
says
apologize.
speaker view, gallery view, full screen. Is that what we're talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
Let me see what happens if I push full screen. I lost the whole, oh, wait a minute. Oh, shoot, I lost the whole damn thing. My camera is still on.
40 minutes ain't gonna be enough time, is it?
No, it isn't. And this is the thing that frightens me about this, is that we're gonna have people who are not as gifted electronically as I am. And okay, all I see now is all of Eric. Okay, I don't see anything else.
That's what you want in a class like this.
That's exactly right. And now, okay, now I see Larry and Jim over on the right-hand side in a vertical column. But 90% of my screen is Eric, which is what I would want. I don't care who else is on the video.
And in a class like this, that's what you want. If we were all interacting with each other and talking back and forth and everybody had an equal voice and spoke their part, then you'd want as many pictures in the screen as you could get.
So let's practice this with Larry being on top.
Larry?
I think there's a lot of different setups on some of this. When we do our family, like we did in Thanksgiving, we did a family thing with Sue's family, and I mean there were tons of people. Everybody was across the top, and you actually had to use the arrow to move the screen across the top to see some of the pictures. But then again, down the bottom on the full screen, it was showing whoever was talking. So
Right.
this thing of the view, Steve, when you go to it and you hit speaker and then you hit pin on Eric, that puts him at the bottom and everybody right across it, at least on mine. That
Okay.
puts him right, the main screen, and right across the top. You said yours is on the side, so I'm
Okay.
sure you can change it on your computer, whatever. So
All right, so now I'm in speaker view. I see Eric is central and you guys are over on the right-hand side in fairly large spaces. Now I go to gallery view and I see all of us on the same size space.
right.
And let me try the next one then. Exit full screen, exit full screen. And now I see I'm still in the gallery view for some reason.
Here's the other thing. You said that they were on the right-hand side fairly large. The more people you add, the smaller each picture gets to fit
Yeah.
everybody on there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So can we practice with Larry talking while all this is, so as if you're running the first part of the meeting?
Well, yeah, I can see already that I'm gonna have to get a light so that people can really see me because I look pretty dark in the picture like Steve does. And I can solve that problem between now and Thursday. That's not a big deal. So yeah, the whole point will be that on Thursday, it's gonna be my meeting and I will do the introduction, which will take about all of 2 minutes. And then I'm just gonna tell everybody to go to, I'm gonna walk them through the idea of making you, Eric, the center. I'll go to share screen and then we can go from there. I think we've got it. I really do. The only real things that I had in mind were I was concerned about the size of the pictures on the right-hand side. But you've answered that question because the more people we have, the smaller they get. And at some point, they don't get to show up. The other, and Steve's idea was that, okay, I'm going to send out another email reminding people about this meeting. What I'm going to tell them is, if you really want to carve along with this, you need to have in front of you these 3 things. You got to have, number 1, a black marker. Number 2, the right size stick. And number 3, you got to have a knife. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to keep up. And we don't really expect you to keep up anyways. It's designed so that you can be familiar with what's going on and then you can go back. That's going to be the introduction, okay? So to speak. The only other thing I would tell you, Eric, is I think you need to show them the carved Santa first.
Project.
So you have some concept about what they're doing. That was it. That was one thing I was concerned about. Then I wouldn't use the paper piece. All of these things are relative, you know. There's no reason why you can't say, oh, about a 1/4 inch from the bottom, you're going to draw this line. And, you know, several inches above, you're going to draw this line and this line and this line. And then do the drawing on the stick first, because that came out better. But apart from that, I've had this problem with light because my light's all behind me. Yep. And I need to get some light in front of me so that they can see my face and see what's going on. And I can solve that problem. But I think we've got it. I really do. And especially if you're recording, and you might want to work a little bit on the whole idea of how do I keep this thing somewhat in focus. I think Steve was asking for clarity throughout the whole thing, and I'm not sure that with an autofocus piece of equipment, that's actually going to happen. I'm surprised that the 720 does better than the 1080. That was an interesting piece. But I think we got it. I'm tickled to death with where we're going with this thing.
Well, and
when the time comes for people to do their show and tell, we can ask them to go to pin yourself. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody can pin them so that they can be right there just like you are.
Right.
So I like that. So I don't know. At this moment, I think your test, I think it was good to do. I'm glad you did it. But I think we're on the right track. I really do. Anybody else want to add? I'm done.
I guess I'm a little cautious about the concept of watching Eric carve on TV while I have a knife in my hand and trying to replicate the movements. That's part of why I asked about, is the thing going to be recorded so a person can look at it separately.
yeah.
I think the biggest challenge here is going to be getting people to be able to operate the Zoom without the constant back and forth. Oh, I don't hear you. Oh, I can't see you, or whatever it is.
That's what the first two meetings will be about. Everybody getting it dialed in.
I think
in the business.
Okay, I'm gonna replace the pin. I'm gonna put me on the pin. See if that works.
The pin only affects what you see.
Do you see me holding up my camera?
Yeah.
Okay, because this is my show and tell.
Yes.
Okay, so that's all I had to do show and tell.
Well, now wait a minute.
So the thing about the pin is when you pin, it only affects your computer. I would have to pin you to affect mine.
Ah, okay. So when I say, hey, look, I'm doing show and tell, everybody has to pin their camera to me, right?
Well, and the thing is if you don't have anything pinned, whoever's talking takes the big screen.
Right. So mostly the person talking should be the one that pops up big on everybody's screen. So if, for instance, I'm looking at the camera right here and I'm watching the computer, which is behind Tekla. And when you talk, Steve or Larry, your face shows up bigger and mine shrinks. And then when you stop talking, the next person that makes any noise, they pop up.
Even if you sneeze.
If you sneeze, the dog barks, whatever.
No, that's not what happens on mine. When you pin somebody, the pin stays big.
Right. That's what we're saying. When you unpin, then whoever
when you unpin, right.
Whoever's talking gets big.
Then how do I
sneezes or whatever?
How do I unpin me now?
Pin somebody else.
Eric.
Pin somebody else.
Pin the speaker or the host.
Well, our pin is down on the bottom right.
Oh, wait, here it is.
Wait, no, that's
not. I see. Okay. If I go to the picture of any of you people on the side,
right,
then I can replace the pin. I'm seeing Jim now. All right. Yeah, I see how it works. Yeah.
Okay.
This to me ought to be the first meeting is how to work the equipment. But anyway.
And I assume that's what you're going to do, Larry, at the first meeting and possibly quite into the second one, is walk people through how to do things, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Either that or we send them out a tutorial that they have to view prior to that, and I doubt that many of them would do that. Because, most of us are hands-on, so until we're in the meeting and we're doing things, it doesn't mean a whole lot of sense, because you can see in the upper right, but if yours is in the upper left, then you're going to search all over the upper right trying to find it.
And that's the kind of trouble I've had on these meetings with other organizations, is they're telling me, well, you can see these 3 dots on the left. I don't have any dots on the left. I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
And that's because we don't all have the same computer and the same operating system. If we all had the same computer, this would be perfect, but we don't.
Okay. Well, it's fascinating.
Two comments. Number one is when we get more people on, a group of people, the more problems we're going to have with the audio.
Yes.
It'd be nice if everybody muted.
There you go. That was one of the things we did at Procter & Gamble. Was the first thing was that they muted it, but the monitor could mute the whole system.
Yes.
Can you do that?
Yeah, moderator can mute everybody.
Okay.
In the meeting details, when you set this up, there's a regular meeting details that show up, and then there's an advanced button at the bottom. The advanced button allows you to pick even more complicated things. But the moderator, when setting up the meeting, can say mute all participants when entering. And then there's another one where you can pick, I think you can pick it where the person can't unmute themselves either. If I remember, I haven't used Zoom as much as Teams, but I've used Zoom a little bit. But I know on the details setting it up, you can set some of those parameters up to where they can't talk unless you let them.
Okay, that was just my comment to get it some way to where we could mute, because somebody's going to have a dog in the background start barking, or
there's a
bell ringing or whatever.
When you click the participant on your toolbar, when you click participants, it should show a chat and a participants. When you click the participants on the right hand, or maybe the left hand, your system on the right hand shows all the participants. Each one of those will have a microphone that'll be slashed if you've set that up. Slash meaning it's not on. So at any moment, the moderator can open up the participants list and mute anybody in the list who's got a dog or a washing machine or whatever running.
Now,
That's one way of doing it.
Okay.
On my screen at the moment, under the pictures of the three of us, not Eric, but under the pictures of the three of us, there's an Eric box. And in the Eric, and it's black, that's with his name in it. And there's a microphone that is muted in that box.
Right.
Do the rest of you see that?
Yeah, that's because the laptop that we've got running the Zoom meeting on, we muted that. Otherwise, we get all this horrible feedback and stuff.
No, that's fine. I just trying to understand what it is I'm seeing.
So here's the way we set up. We got a laptop here that is the main host machine. To that is connected two cameras, and then I've got my computer signed in as an attendee. And so this one, because it shows mute, is because the laptop is muted. Otherwise, we get reverb and feedback between the computer and the laptop.
So when you're carving, are you looking at the mainframe across the room from you?
No. So well, yes, kind of, but not really. I've got the camera right here, and just if you know where my table is,
yes,
I'm looking at the back corner where the bookcases are. Straight in front of me is my desk with the computer, so I can see that, and I can see myself doing this. What's picking up the audio is the camera that's looking at me, because Tekla's the moderator, and it's all run through the laptop. Whatever camera she switches, because she can switch that camera with a couple of clicks. Right. This camera right now is picking up my audio. No, when she changes to this one right here, this one right here will pick up the audio, and I'm less than 15 inches from either one of them.
Okay, my question was, what is it that you are looking at to help guide you as to where your hands are? In other words, so you know what it is that's being broadcast.
I'll have two choices. If Tekla's doing it with me, then she can. I see the back of the laptop flipped up. I don't see the screen. I see it on the computer over there. Okay. She can sit next to me with the computer, with the laptop, so that I can see it. But I just have that as a participant attendee on my main computer.
Because to me, that's the critical element here, because we're worried about your fingers are in the way, or we can't quite see what you're doing. Obviously, you need to be able to see it as we see it, as we view it, so you know where your hands are and what the focus looks like.
So I'm being a little selfish here, because eventually, and Larry and I were talking about this, eventually I want to do Zoom classes, because if COVID kicks in for another year, that's another year of income I have not picked up. Sure. In terms of and the publicity for me. Let me just be selfish about it. But the idea was, let's get it done. So you guys are going to be the guinea pigs as we run this, both for the club and for me as well. And I'd eventually love to have classes where I invite club members to come. Okay, I'm going to do a 3-hour class, cost you $40 or whatever we run. And then here's what we're going to do, and do that in such a way that Tekla can moderate what's going on. So, because you can, right now while we're talking, you can put stuff into the chat, and Tekla can look at that and give me a question off to the side and say, well, Steve in the chat has asked this question about what size knife you're carving with. Is it 1.5 inches or 2 inches? And that would be fed to me by her, and I would be able to respond to that through the chat as long as there's a moderator. I see a lot of these people doing it out of their phone, and they can't photograph and monitor the chat at the same time. So they'll say, join me live, because we're doing it live, but you type in something, they don't see it because they're doing it all from their phone right above them, and they can't monitor the chat as well on the phone.
See, I don't see the chat opportunity at the moment.
In your toolbar, when you go across your picture, and it
Plus
comes up with,
my picture.
yeah, right click your picture.
Well,
Oh, the chat, no, the chat is at the bottom.
Yeah,
It should be
mine's across the bottom of the toolbar.
Icon
Gotcha.
at the bottom.
the icon at the bottom
oh,
says,
here's chat. Okay,
looks
at the
like
bottom.
looks like a thick bubble.
Yep.
Yep, you can click on that and type into the chat on the side. Hello, Eric, I'm glad I'm here, blah, blah, blah. What kind of knife are you using? I got to go to the bathroom for a minute, so don't ignore the toilet flushing. Whatever you got to say there.
I'm trying to see how I send it.
Right.
I started to type something in.
Type in and hit enter.
Oh, just hit enter. Okay. See,
Yep.
this is different than what I've done before. Everybody see that?
I see it, yeah.
Okay.
Can't see
All right.
what it did.
Well, it's 'cause it's bouncing.
I hear heavy breathing. What's going on?
So the main reason I wanted you guys
Matt
to
says
just,
to make sure it says send to everyone.
Matt says, make sure your chat says send to everyone, not just to the host.
Oh, let's take a look at that. Chat. Everyone. Ah, I see. Okay.
So we are recording this, so we'll mess around with that.
We are recording this, Tekla says, so we're going to mess around with that and see what that looks like, because it's supposed to record directly to the computer, and then we can upload that to the cloud if we want to. I don't know that we want this uploaded to the cloud or uploaded to our website, but the idea was to practice, and then when we finally get to it, like you said, Steve, where is it going to be? It's going to be on it'll be saved on our YouTube channel and then linked to the Idaho Woodcarvers Guild Facebook page and the web page as well. I haven't done much with the web page because we're not doing anything lately, but eventually I'll put an announcement on there that we have a YouTube channel, and that videos related to the club will be posted on there as well. Classes, meetings, whatever.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, question number 2. On this screen here, we see a black screen that says Eric and a black screen that says Matt Owens.
Yes.
Is either one of those, is it possible or available to put the your guides, the ones you've already carved, the steps, your go-bys, to put them on that so that everybody can have that as a view at any point in time?
The reason they show up as black instead of a picture is because neither one have joined with video. So I joined on my computer. It does not have a camera. Matt joined on his laptop and he's turned his camera off, so he can't see that. So I don't know that there's a particular screen to have this pinned on there so you could switch back and forth and see that.
You'd have to have 2 more cameras.
I'd have to have another camera, right?
Yeah.
That would show that. That's correct.
So you would take the.
Is there a way to put that behind you? It wouldn't be in focus. It wouldn't be big enough. No, okay.
What I could do,
my own question.
one of the other things I could do is have this sitting right here. So when I'm carving here, I could have this thing sitting right here. It's going to be kind of in the way, but it would be a way to set it up. The other choice would be prior to the meeting, whoever you invite, send a picture of this to the invitees. So they would have, you could, for instance, have the piece of paper here and a ruler there so they could see what size it is.
And maybe do it the instead of just the finished Santa, maybe a few things and steps on the way, like your square stick to start with the lines on it, and then the paper next to it. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's probably not a bad idea, because if somebody wanted to print that out and have it, they could look at it and it would help them.
Right. that could also be the intro. The first 2 minutes of while we're talking and setting it up is, this is where we're starting. Here are the sizes of it. Here's a ruler to show you. This is where we're going to end up.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think it would still be good to have a reference, like you said, to send them a picture out so they could go ahead and print it out and have it if they want it.
That is true.
If you lift the faraway end of the ruler, if you elevate the faraway end, let's see if I can see no, I can't. I was trying to see, is there a place where I can see the markings? I really can't.
This is not a very good ruler. Hand me that other one over there, if there's one. This is not a very good ruler, I'll be honest with you, because it's faded out and I've written them back in and they faded out again.
Oh.
We can come up with another. That's just let's see if it's going to be shiny, so I don't know if it'll show you any better.
Yeah, I can
Helps a little
read it
bit.
better, but the light that's on the right-hand side is lighting up the ruler between an inch and change and less than 3 inches, whatever that is. You know what would work? You know the black and white squares that the police use, where they draw. You got a sheet of paper.
Well, interesting thing that you bring up, because when you mentioned that my green thing had all these colors on it, I sanded it off, but I went looking for another one, and I'm not willing to pay $30. But the craft ones come with grids on them. The grids they all have that one's.
Yes, I know.
The green thing has a grid on it, and I wasn't willing to pay $30 for it. But you're right, but it's non-matte, or it's a matte finish, so it's not shiny.
No, and that's what you need is a matte finish. But
I'll look at a plastic ruler that'll lay here, a wooden ruler.
Well, what I started to say was on crime shows and stuff, and when they have police photos, instead of having a ruler with numbers, they have alternating black and white squares where each square is a specific size.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, and if you laid that on there, you could see, oh, it's 2 black squares high, or it's 3. Anyway, without having any numbers, you could still make out how large an object is.
Gotcha. I'll think about that, how to do that. Could do it on a piece of paper as well.
Yeah, well, that's what I would do, is just do it on a piece of paper.
Any other questions, comments? Did I miss the camera a little bit?
Thanks for taking the time to do this, and I think this is pretty doggone good schooling for how to present it. I think it's good. I think.
Well, I'm selfish. I miss all you guys. I miss carving with you, and going over and carving at Woodcraft with 3 or 4 of us. It ain't the same. It can't be the same, or even 2 of us over there at times. So sitting in the back in the warehouse around all the freight that they got in, last few days, it hasn't moved. There's no room in there. I mean, we might be able to set up a couple tables. So I'm selfish that I miss you guys and want to hang out with you, even if it's virtual. And then I'm selfish in wanting to practice and figuring out how to make this more for my carving thing that I'm wanting to do. So
making it viable.
So the other question is, would we do this instead of a club meeting the 2nd Thursday of the month? Would we do this the 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 5th Thursdays of the month, where we just want to chat? Whoever wants to pop on here and talk, we can. Because I mean, my camera is only about 5 inches from the table. I could certainly raise that up to where we can see more things and have a conversation and do stuff.
Are you talking about making it a weekly meeting thing?
Making it just a weekly recurring meeting for 40 minutes or 3 40-minute meetings or whatever.
Then you just have the face camera. You wouldn't be worried about the other one.
So then I would just set up a face camera so that we can see each other face to face. And I'm saying, oh, look what I'm carving, and I'm holding it up to somebody to see, and I'm doing this and that, or you're doing that, or what we're wanting to show off.
Eric,
Okay. Is anybody interested in that?
Eric,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yep.
I muted myself.
No, you just muted yourself. We heard you before.
Okay, now you can hear me. Okay.
Yes.
I'm thinking about the possibility of, I like the idea of, one of the reasons why I don't come to the carve-in is because it takes me, during that time of day, it takes me 35 minutes to get over there.
Yeah.
Another 35 minutes back. And so it's just, I waste an hour and 15 minutes when I could be carving.
And it's during the workday too, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. It's just not.
So
for working
what
folks.
I'm doing is I'm going to My sister-in-law has her own account with Zoom. I don't have any idea how much that costs, but I'm going to check it out. And there's no reason why we couldn't do a Zoom open carving once a week. The issue is, how do you keep it going for longer than 40 minutes? Well, you got to get your own account.
So the pro account, I think it runs like $150 a year, 130. I can't remember the exact number. You can do it by month. It's a little more expensive. There's another charge for doing it by month, or you can pay for the year. That allows you a 24-hour meeting all day. You can host up to 100 people. So if you buy the account and then you set up the meeting, you can last on there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever you want, up to 24 hours, and you can hold 100 people in that meeting. So that would be the thing to do. That's what Tech and I are going to do at the first of the year, because we're going to set up the carving business in terms of classes and stuff like that. But that's what we're going to do, is get the $150, whatever it is, and just that way we can hold family meetings or whatever, because it's all under that same thing. So you can have as many meetings as you can cram into 24 hours times 31 or 32 days, whatever it is.
That's right. So let me work on that a little bit between now and Thursday, because that might be something we'd bring up during the meeting, whether or not people really want to do that.
Well, the other choice is to run a 40-minute meeting, then run another 40-minute meeting, or after that, and another 40 meeting. And I know probably in between those, you'll lose people.
But you have to have the interest in the Zoom meeting first.
Right. You have to have the interest in the Zoom meeting. If no one's interested in the Zoom meeting, paying $150 for the year just seems like, okay,
Well,
now I've bought it. Now what do I do?
That's what I was going to say, as far as when we first try it, even if it's more expensive, let's try it by the month and see how it works for 6 months. And if it works, then we can go and pay a full year.
Right.
I want to add that if we're going to do this, the club ought to pay for it, first of all, since we're doing it for the benefit of the club.
True.
If it costs more. And we got buku bucks. The other thing I guess I'd ask is, the meeting got moved from 6:30 or 6 to 5. I assume because Woodcraft had issues. So might we ask the membership, would they prefer to do Zoom at 5, or would they prefer to do Zoom at 6:30?
Good point.
Because at 5, if I work till 4 or 4:30, I got to rush like hell to get home. Then I got to power up the computer, blah, 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 So I would give them the opportunity to say, hey, yeah, I'd do it, but I'd rather do it at our original time or at some other time, something other than 5 o'clock.
Well, I think you set it up at 6:30 on Thursday, didn't you, Larry?
Yeah.
So that's set up for that. So
We just need to know.
that's just going to be part of that conversation that Larry will have with the members, is when do you want to do this? Because this is what we're thinking about doing in terms of Zoom. Do you want it at 5? Do you want it to start at 6:30 or 6, or how long is it going to last? Till 8, 9 o'clock, whatever.
Okay,
So,
I wasn't aware that it's 6:30 had been offered.
yeah.
The other important thing to remember is, does this make me look 10 pounds heavier?
Just your butt.
Damn, I got the camera at the wrong end.
Oh, I thought it was at the right end. Mine is, I know. I've got the COVID 10 pounds of hair,
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't look bad, Eric.
I look like I'm in high school with gray hair, because this is what it looks like in high school. It's real curly and wingy, and
Yeah.
I'm just too dang lazy and cheap to spend on a haircut right now.
Damn
You look
earrings.
like a Christmas elf.
Well,
Hey, I miss you guys. I miss you guys.
let Tekla cut it.
Huh?
Let Tekla cut it.
I've clipped my hair for a long time, and I have it back there where I could clip it. I just get up and I just go. I don't really worry about my hair too much.
Let me give you some perspective. The other day I saw a video clip. It was George Clooney, the actor.
Yep.
And he was being interviewed, and I don't know how it came to this, but the person who interviewed him said, I understand you cut your own hair.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, he's got the thing that, I don't know, 1975 or something, there was a tool that was a clipper that you attach to your vacuum cleaner.
Floby.
What was it called?
Floby.
Clovey. Okay, so Clooney cuts his own hair and a multi-millionaire. So
Right.
you know.
Well, I
guess-
got tired of paying $20-something for a haircut and having to go home and fix it. So I started cutting my own for a long time until some time ago.
Oh shoot! I only pay 12.
Yeah, well, you get the senior citizen discount that I don't get
That's
yet.
right.
My solution is my granddaughter is in barber school right now.
There
Oh,
you go. There you go. You know, not to get too far off on a side note, but I found that the people at Sports Clips really do a great job. Much more than just the regular barbers down the street. And I'd like to support local, but they always butcher it. And I go to Sports Clips, they do exactly what I want them to do 99% of the time. So. And you get a neck and head massage and a facial wrap, and you know, you get the whole works. I happen to go to a spa.
Did you go to the topless barber?
Don't have those. Don't have those. Just remember, we're being recorded, so.
Yeah, well. Okay.
Let me back up
Just
here.
remember, your wife is in the room and ours aren't.
Yes, true. She's rolling her eyes, let me tell you.
Let me say at this moment that this last 5 minutes of conversation is exactly what Eric is looking for when we get together with buddies on a Zoom meeting. And we can do that as long
Right.
as, that's what we're trying to do. Yeah.
As long as
Well,
you
they
don't
pop
have
in-
to all.
Whether they pop in for 5 minutes or the full time, I don't have a lot of camaraderie with my colleagues at work because we go in the room and we do our Zoom stuff and our team stuff, and then we go home, and we're not supposed to spend a lot of time together because of the COVID. So I don't have a lot of that interaction. Our scouts is not doing very well. We're actually meeting with another group, and I don't go meet them because it's someone else. So you guys all I got left. So if you don't want to hang out with me on the Zoom, then I'll hang out with somebody else I don't randomly know across the globe. Mr. Patel.
Mr. Patel, we'll hang with you.
Well, listen, I think we've probably reached our point, haven't we?
Yes,
I think we found out what I wanted to find out. Yes, and I appreciate all your help in doing this.
All right.
Yeah, I think it was a good effort. Real
Well,
good effort.
Hey, for everybody who doesn't know, there's a little red button down in the right-hand corner where it says leave. You can leave the
Yeah.
meeting.